Quick preface on this video, it's kind of nonsense. It's not my normal DIY tutorial, straight to the tutorial how to. I'm all over the place, but I'm gonna go ahead and post anyway because it's all I got. If you are looking to get to just the part about making the fringed edge napkins, it's about 5 minutes in. And I lose audio at the end, and so anyways, proceed at your own risk. I needed a quick win, y'all. Do you ever have busy times where you feel like you need to just be able to get something accomplished? Dinner napkins is the name of the game. This project might seem a little bit too soon to be working on my Thanksgiving napkins, but I have got so many big projects in the works. I'm working on getting my stuff together for my kitchen renovation. I'm also working on my guest room renovation. Got my fabrics all cut for my projects here, so I wanted to make sure that all my pieces were cut ahead of time, that I had enough fabric for everything. That's in the works. My kitchen project, let me show you where I'm at. We're out here in my garage. I've got this hood that's going into my kitchen. This piece here, which is basically a china cabinet, but I'm gonna cut that down. Hold on, let me make it brighter in here. This china cabinet here, I'm gonna use in my kitchen, but only the top half, and I'm gonna cut it so that it's not so deep. So that's going in my kitchen. It's gotta be painted, and I'm gonna do something with the mirror or the glass. Then I've got my kitchen island sitting right here, which I still haven't cut the top of that, so I've got that to do. And then my windows are over there, so I'm just collecting everything and making sure that I have everything I need before I get started. That's why I decided to do this project right now, because I have been just feeling like I've been spinning my wheels and not getting anything accomplished. I needed that quick win. So let me show you what we're doing today. And every Thanksgiving, I make a new set of dinner napkins because I prefer cloth napkins, and then I have a whole set of napkins that I can use for the rest of the season and season after season. So I have about 30 or so people to my house for Thanksgiving, and every year I make a new set of napkins. Not every year. There's been a couple years that I have skipped and we've just used the same ones over again. But I like to make them every year because I just like it. And I keep them really simple. You'll see. This year I was thinking about going a little bit more detailed, but that may not happen after I get started. But let's see how it goes. Let me show you a couple of the ones that I've done in the past. I almost always use a linen fabric, and I use a middleweight linen fabric. This one, both of these linens that I'm about to show you are from fabric-store.com, and I'll put a link in my description box below if you want to get your hands on this fabric. It's not sponsored. I wish I could get you a discount code for it, but I don't have any affiliation with them. But I love their linen. They've got beautiful linen. They've got all weights of linen. It's gorgeous. I've used all of it, and it's lovely, lovely linen. This is their middleweight linen, and it's just a white slubby linen. And this was 2 years ago, I think I made these. And I just did a fringed edge, and then I took a contrasting colored upholstery thread and I stitched around the edges of this so that the fraying would stop at the stitching. Otherwise the fraying will just continue and continue and continue, and you'll eventually not have any napkin left. I did kind of a brown color. I just love them, and I've used them year after year, and they wash and dry so nicely. This is, straight out of the dryer. I don't press them, so that was 2 years ago. Then this one is a natural linen, same company, natural, and this fabric is so beautiful. I love it. It's natural. It's just so pretty. And then these are I probably did these like 8 years ago. And this is a vintage Ralph Lauren fabric. And I just had it in my stash for a long time. And when I was time to do my linen napkins, I was like, wait a second, that Ralph Lauren fabric would be a gorgeous fall napkin. It's so pretty. Let me get one that has a little bit of the blue in it, because that's my favorite. This one has some of the blue and the floral, and I just think it's so pretty. And again, I just did a fringed edge because I'm lazy and I usually don't have a lot of time for this, and so I end up just doing the quickest possible solution. And it worked. One year I did actually not do a frayed edge napkin. I actually did a seam and I actually mitered the corners, which took a long time, but these came out really nicely. These are probably about 6 years old. And I'm telling you, this one I put a stencil on there. I screen printed a stencil on there, and that has worn off. But the napkin is going strong. These things will last a lifetime. So anyways, let's get started. I have a cabinet with drawers that sits right by my dining room table, and I store all of my linen napkins next to my dining room table. So it makes it really easy at mealtime to just grab my napkins out. We use them for every meal. I don't buy paper towels or paper napkins. It's just an added expense that I just don't like to put that into my budget. I know it's silly. Anyways, this year we are going with another linen from the linen-store.com. This is the linen that I used in my daughter's bedroom for her Roman shades in her bedroom when I did the dark academia look in her room. And if you want to see that video, you can click the link for that. I'll put it in the description. It's a great refresh in her bedroom. It came out really nice. So we're going to use that. It's 100% linen. This is I think a 5 ounce, or I think they have it listed as maybe a 5.2 ounce linen. I'm going to measure out from selvage to selvage and see how many napkins I can get. Typical dinner napkin size is 18 inches, but I want to not have any waste on my fabric. So let me see what this is. I'll divide it up evenly. So this is 58 inches. 58 inches divided by 3, that'll give me about 19 inches. So I'm going to make my napkins 18 by 18 square. That'll just make it simple. What I will do first is I'm going to cut 18, 18, 18, and then I'll cut them 18 this way. So it's a couple days later and I'm still working on this one napkin. I don't know what I was thinking. I got overambitious and thought I was gonna do hand stitching on all of these napkins. I guess it's been a long time since I've done a blanket stitch or any embroidery stitching, and I thought, oh, it won't take that long. Well, I'm definitely not going to do any hand stitching for my 30 napkins because that's my goal. Well, I'm going to make 24 the same, and then the 10 other ones I can use just last year's or the year before napkins. I am going to go ahead and use this dark green fabric and just do a fringed edged napkin for those 24. I think maybe I'll make 4 of these like this for my mother-in-law, because I did paint her kitchen this deep green, all her kitchen cabinets. I just recently painted all her kitchen cabinets this deep green color because she liked it so well from my daughter's bedroom renovation, and so it would be really nice for her to have a set of napkins this dark green color. So I think I will go ahead and make 4 of these for her, and then the rest for my table will be fringed edge napkins. So let me finish this off and show you how this one turned out, and then I'll show you how to do the fringed edge. And stick around for the most important thing to do, fringe edge napkin. Okay, so this is all done. Let me show you what I did. So I used this embroidery thread because I really like the color contrast with this deep green fabric. I just think it looks really pretty together. I think it will look great with my fall centerpiece, to have some dark greens and some lighter greens with oranges and reds and yellows and browns. So anyway, what I did is I went ahead and I did a rolled hem around the whole napkin. So you can see I did sew a rolled hem. And then I hand stitched the blanket stitch around the whole edge of the napkin. And you can see, let me show you where I started. This is where I started. And you can see how close together the stitching is. And then as I go across, it gets longer. Those stitches get longer and longer because I was like, holy moly, this is going to take me eons. And then I did this cute little embroidered leaf in the corner with a stem stitch. And I do have a video on each of these stitches on my channel already, but I'll put links for those in the description box below if you want to go to these and see how these are done. They're very simple. It's very relaxing. I love to hand stitch, but I just don't have time right now. I'm not really a TV watcher. It's a great thing to do while you're watching TV or while you're watching a YouTube video. It's a real nice, it's nice to do something with your hands while you're just listening to a podcast or something. But anyways, there's the way that that looks. Fold it up, and that's the way you could have it on your table. And I think it's just so cute, but there ain't no way I'm gonna make 24 of these. And I actually have a machine that could do the blanket stitch, and I might try that, see how fast that goes. And then I could just do the stem stitch for a leaf, and I could do even a more simple design on that. That would make it go a little faster. Anyways, let's get on with the fringed edge napkin, and let me tell you what the most important thing is when you're doing a fringed edge napkin. Everybody knows how important it is to cut your fabric straight, square, non-grain when you're doing a sewing project. And if you don't, then watch that video that I have right here. I give you a ton of information on why it's important to cut your fabric straight, square, non-grain, and how to go about doing it. So I'll put that in the description box below. But with a fringed edge napkin, how many times can I say that in one video? You need, the most important thing is to make sure that your square is cut straight, square, non-grain. Because if you don't, then your napkin will fray askew. So if your fabric is not square on the grain, when you start to fringe your napkin, what'll happen is it'll be askew, and the grains of your fabric will come out askew, and you'll have basically a cockeyed napkin, or you'll have a quadrilateral. All you math people out there, you'll have a not square, but like that. My napkin, which appears to be square. So it's lined up here, it's lined up here, it's lined up here. It looks like it's square. So I sewed a little stitch line across the top to hold my frame. That's nice and straight. It's straight across. And I'm gonna go ahead and start fringing this down to my stitch line. Okay, so it's already happening where it's off. So what happens is the warp and weft threads are not square to my stitching. So I'm all the way down to my stitch line over here, and I'm not over here. So now it's just not going to fray right, because on this side we have threads that are not pulled out, but down here the fraying is all the way down to the stitch line already. You can still work with it, but you're gonna have to just be clipping off these threads constantly. And then see how I've got fraying all the way down to there, and then it just doesn't work right. So you just want to make sure that you get your fabric cut straight and square and on grain by pulling a thread first, so that this doesn't happen. And if you do it wrong, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how out of square this fabric is. And then you'll have to just cut it smaller, pull a thread, find the grain of the fabric, and then cut that square smaller, and then sew your stay stitch in there. So that's the main thing about this style napkin, is just making sure it's straight, square, and on grain. And that's important with any kind of sewing project you do. So I selected a nice neutral brown to sew the edge of my fabric. I think it looks kind of fallish and will look good on my Thanksgiving table, although it's so close to the green really that it's just going to blend in. So I just sewed a straight stitch all the way around the napkin, and I used a very small stitch length in order to hold those stitches in. And you can see right here how nice the stitch length holds that fraying together, and it looks like little tassels on the edge of my fabric because the fabric is so fine, and the stitch length is so small. It just makes little tassels, and it looks so pretty on the edge of the napkin, and it's just a lovely, lovely look, and it just gets prettier with time and washing. Simple, simple. If you'd like to see the video that I made about how to cut your fabric straight, square, non-grain with all those details, you can click on that video right here, and I'll see you over there.